All right, that time of the year, our friend Joel Klatt over at Fox, Big Ten honk, and Fox broadcaster. I think those go hand in hand. Actually, he's got his way too early 24 season top 10 out. And I'm gonna rattle these off for you. Do you agree with all of these? I'm not sure I do, but I'm gonna talk it. I'm gonna speak it out loud as we go here. And now, and he makes a caveat, and he's right. We don't. We There's a lot of moving parts here. We still Jim Harbaugh, as the time I record this, is still the coach at Michigan. That's not going to stay the same. When he recorded this, I don't think he knew kind of how rough the situation in Alabama would appear, and it appears pretty bad right now. But anyway, here's who he's got in his top 10, and I'm going to also talk about each of these as we go, because I think there's a difference, y'all, between legitimately being. I just stick with me here, because I think he's right with some of these, but some are a little bit of an overreaction. So he's got Penn State at number 10. Hey, listen, if I gotta hear about Penn State anymore, I mean, these guys are losers, and everybody knows it. Ole Miss whipped their ass in Atlanta. So, okay, we got the Nittany Lions at 10. That's fine. He's got Penn State at 10. Notre Dame at 9. Utah at 8. Yeah, I love Utah. I'm not sure I got them in my top 10 though. Michigan at 7, which I think they probably will be a top 10 team. He's got the Rebels at 6. We're getting a little out on a limb about Ole Miss. I think they are a good team. I'm not sure I'd have them that high personally, but he's got Bama at 5, Texas at 4, Oregon at 3, Ohio State 2, and Georgia at 1. I think the top 3 or 4, actually, I think that's correct. I think that those teams are poised to win national championship in 2024. I think Georgia is the best of the bunch. I think that when you look at everything that's going on around Georgia and around college football, it makes sense that the Dogs would be pretty much the betting favorite by like double everybody else, which is about where they're at. I would have LSU in my top 10. I think Nussmeier is a very good quarterback. I think Brian Kelly, they took a step backwards this past year. I think Jaden Daniels was awesome, but if they don't fix that defense, they probably should have finished the season ranked in the top 10, frankly, LSU. But, the betting markets have Ole Miss much further down than number 6. They've got them at, I think, 8. 7 or 8, excuse me. So maybe not that further down, but the Penn State notion, I just don't. I know he's got him at 10. Somebody's got to be your 10. I don't know that I trust Missouri, but I might have Missouri in my top 10. I don't know if I trust Missouri quite like that. It's interesting, and I wouldn't have them in there either. No Tennessee, no Clemson, no Oklahoma. There is, even with Nick leaving Alabama, there is a very, very real, acknowledgement now that there's only a handful of teams that can win the national championship. And, it's not Missouri or Ole Miss. I mean, even with this playoff, that's not going to help. I don't necessarily think. Now, Arizona would have been poised to really be in good position, but their head coach just checked out to go to UW. So there's some moving parts here. I think, let me concentrate on the top 4 here, that the way that he's got it, which is Georgia at the 1, Ohio State at the 2, Oregon at 3, and Texas at 4. For me, I think those are the top 4. The betting markets have Alabama in the top 4 narrowly. Oregon and LSU are narrowly behind Alabama. I'm just saying I would have LSU in my top 10. I don't know. I think LSU is probably getting in the playoff. I want to study it a little bit more. This is our Ocean View swivel chair glider. Swivel glider. Excuse me, I put an extra word in there from our buddies at EcoPoly. I'm going to talk over the top of this. You can check this out. 20-year warranty. And I'm going to switch some colors up for you too. If you don't want that red, you can go with some other stuff. I think Oregon is the team I would bet personally to win the Big Ten this coming year. And I just think what Dan's done there is really good. You're bringing in the quarterback from Oklahoma who came from, I think, UCF. Kid's been everywhere, but that will help them out. They won't have to worry so much about how are we going to replace Bo Nix? Well, you're probably not going to replace Bo Nix. By the way, this is my favorite look on these chairs for the beach. If you have a beach house, that's a really neat chair. And if you're just outside, like at your mountain house, that's a nice one right there too. But I do like that beach chair, man, a lot. I'm not lying. I like that look a lot. Okay. With that said, I think Oregon it sure looks like Oregon is in very good position to challenge Georgia. He's got Ohio State as the 2, which is fine. I think Ohio State can 100% win the national championship this coming year. The betting markets have them as the 2 behind Georgia, about half the probability, excuse me. And then Texas. I mean, Georgia and Texas are going to play each other. Georgia's going to play, for the betting market, 2 of the top 4. Georgia's going to play in this coming season. I think it's not out of the question that Georgia goes undefeated. I think that's challenging. But, right now, Georgia is considered a 12.5-point favorite over Clemson. They are Texas is a 2.5-point favorite over Michigan. Texas plays 2 of the top teams. Georgia's a 3.5 over Alabama. I may be missing something here. Oh well, I just got fooled by conference realignment. Michigan and Washington also play one another in a rematch of the national championship, which at UW in Seattle. Michigan's an 11.5-point favorite. That's a lot. Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite over Mississippi. Ohio State plays Oregon, 2 of the top 3 playing one another. Oregon's a 1.5-point favorite at home over Ohio State. Ohio State has unequivocal, whatever that word is, has made themselves better for sure. But I would pick Georgia right now maybe as a 3 or 4-point favorite, something like that. The longer Ryan Day goes without winning the national championship, the more I would be concerned. I don't think that you got to be uber concerned until we're a lot of years into this. And he's been the head coach there. It seems like he's been there longer than he has. But remember that, I don't know why this is popping up as Rye Day. It's not. He's only been there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. That's not, quote, that long. Now, that said, Kirby, he was there in 16. He started at Georgia in 16. So we're kind of getting to the point where if you're Ryan Day, I say 6 seasons. He took over at the close of 18. He really didn't start until 19. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So this season coming up will be year 6. And of course, for Kirby, he won it in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So it's that time. It's not Kirby's timeline. It's Ryan Day's timeline, and that's up to him to get it done. My suspicion is that they will win the national championship. They're going to have to get through Georgia to do that. And that's not going to be easy. This Georgia team, y'all, is going to be really good. And, Ohio State under Ryan Day has played for a national championship and has been into a couple of college football playoff semifinals. And this video has become more about Ohio State at the end, but I think that they are the ones, and Oregon, that are, so Georgia now, to me, Alabama is always going to be there. Now you introduce Texas into this thing, but it seems to me that their threat is more out of the SEC this year than in. Now, that might not be true because you've got, the Rebels, Texas, and Alabama, all of which are, games that you play on the road. You've got to deal, you do not deal with Missouri. Georgia does play Tennessee, and they obviously play Auburn and Clemson and Georgia Tech and teams that, in theory could beat them, but will probably be double-digit underdogs because of where Tennessee plays in Athens, or Tech plays in Athens. Georgia will likely be the favorite to win the SEC. They are the favorite to win the national championship. I think the good thing for Georgia, as we've seen in the recent past, 2 years ago, one loss this time is not necessarily going to cost them the national championship. Ohio State, that was, one loss hasn't necessarily cost it for them either. In 22, they ate the loss to Michigan, went on to play Georgia to the final snap of the game and lost. And Georgia went on to win the national championship. But I think this is, looking at this is kind of looking at what Joel's numbers are has gotten me I'm relatively excited about this season coming up. I was not really excited about 23. I was exhausted. I had, between the book and the, Georgia's, the death of Delvin Willock and all of the tragedy of the offseason, the writing the book, the death of the program, that went for a long time, essentially until the meeting with that I was there. If you want to call it a meeting, is the wrong way to put it. To the press conference with Alan Judd being there. That was in the summer. I can't remember when in the summer, but that hung over the program and hung over and so forth for a long time. So for me, 2023, that was not an overly enjoyable run. I'm looking very much forward to 2024 because they open with Clemson, and then you have the fun of they get to play at Alabama, they get to play at Texas, they're gonna play the Rebels. You got Ole Miss, you got Auburn. Excuse me, I said Ole Miss. I meant to say you got Tennessee, you've got Auburn, you got Georgia Tech. You've got a lot of fun games. You also don't go to Missouri, so that's gone, thank God. But I think for me, it's disappointing not to play South Carolina. But that's if you're replacing Georgia, South Carolina, and Georgia, Missouri with Georgia, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, there's no question from a broadcast standpoint, those are just better games, period. And, they're harder games for Georgia, but they're games Georgia should probably win. Now, it's hard when you're going on the road, and you're not going to win all the games, but I'm looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I do think Joel's top four are correct. I think everything after that, it's hard to know. I mean, is Alabama going to really, really just fall off a cliff? Clemson didn't. So I don't know why Alabama would, necessarily. And the difference may be that, Nick Saban's not the coach there anymore. Yeah, I mean, that's something to monitor. But for Clemson, it was they sort of landed the plane into 9-4. They didn't crash to 9-4. So I think that's probably what we'll see from Alabama. I don't know that they're a top 5 team, but I don't know who else I'd put. I would not put the Rebels at top 5. I'm not sure who else I'd put that high either. It's this far away from the season. It's tricky.